A very good evening to everybody. Welcome to this talk show once again, Eclectica, the different news. As you have been watching this show previously, also, here we bring experts from different domains of science and technology, particularly focusing on healthcare, dentistry, and many more. So, today, as you can see, we already have our guest in, Dr. Steward Gracian. So, thank you, Dr. Stewart, for accepting my invite for Eclectica, and it's a pleasure having you here on this show.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. I'm very glad to be on your channel live. And I saw some of the previous experts talking, and you're running a great show here. And I'm very glad to be a part of this. And I hope people benefit from today's session as well.
Absolutely, I think it will be a very interesting conversation because we will actually learn from your experiences and from your insights something not much spoken of things inside dentistry. Uh, okay, so Dr. Gasian, I will just request you to formally introduce yourself, and I think you are the best person who can speak about what you have been doing or what you are doing right at this moment.
Yes, ma'am. I passed out of bachelor's in dental surgery or BDS in 2014. And from then on, I've been exploring different avenues, clinical and non-clinical, and I've been seeing where my passion is. So after my graduation, I worked for a couple of years in a private corporate dental clinic. I passed out from Ragas Dental College, which is in Chennai, and then 2 years in clinical dentistry. And though I loved it, I always wanted to do something very different. So then I got an opportunity to apply for a program called as Youth for India, where youth from across the country, especially professionals, come and we go to very rural places and we work there. So 1 year I was in a rural part of Odisha. I worked in Kalahandi district there. I was promoting dental health and public health there. After that, I was able to get into the innovation and startup ecosystem and then work on some problems. And I formed my company called SocioDent in 2021. So I'm currently running that, and we are associated with the incubation center here at IIT also. So that's what we've been doing and how I came along so far. I'll be happy to talk more as we go along in the sessions.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction of yours. And I think the very first words that came out of your mouth would be, a bag of inspiration for many people who are watching live or who might be seeing this as a recorded version as well. Okay, so Dr. Stewart, not wasting any more time, let me shoot my questions to you because I think that is my job today and to learn from you. So, Dr. Stewart, what do you think that regarding the scope of innovations when we talk about innovations in dentistry? What is the scope for innovations in dentistry according to you?
Yes, ma'am. So, having been in the ecosystem for the past 2 3 years, understanding social innovations, understanding how the startup ecosystem works, especially in the medtech and health tech sector, that I realized a bit late, I should say, that there is a lot of scope for innovation in dentistry. And let me break it down for you because otherwise it will be too much of a cliche because innovations in dentistry, people keep talking about it, but what exactly is innovations? That is the question that we should be asking. Anything new, any product, method, or whatever it is can be an idea which brings about something new. But then the question is, everyone has an idea. People have thousands of ideas, but unless this idea creates an impact, then there is no innovation. So someone gave this definition of innovation, which says that no impact, no innovation. That's what the definition was. So if
Fantastic.
whatever we are doing has no impact, then there is no innovation actually. So that is innovation is all about. And if you see in dentistry, let me talk about
Mm.
dentistry, and let me talk about also how innovation works. If you allow me, basically
Sure.
when when people think of innovation, they think of something very drastic, something very huge, like something like that. But there are different types of innovations. Basically, there is incremental innovation where something exists and you build over it and you create some impact out of it. and then there are disruptive innovations where there is something completely out of the box. So having said that, how does an innovation come about? So that is the next question. Innovation comes about only when there is some sort of empathy and when some sort of problem identification happens. Because just throwing some ideas and then just trying to execute those ideas, they really don't work. We have to see if there is a real problem and people experience this problem, and then talking to these people, and then you try to build a solution for that in collaboration with those people who are going through the problem, and then you test it, and then that's how innovation happens. And now that I've set the base about what innovation is and what are the types of innovation and how an innovation happens, let's talk about dentistry. So dentistry, there are different stages, right? Primary, secondary, tertiary, where we start from screening the patients for some dental problems, and then later on we treat them. We probably do a filling, or we do an extraction, or we go to an advanced level of rehabilitation like implants and surgery and all that. At each level, there is huge scope for innovation. Let me take screening for example. You're going to screen a patient. So what are the aspects you'll be screening in a dental camp? You'll be looking at the teeth, whether there's some cavity. You'll be looking at the gums, whether there's some gum problem or periodontal problems. You'll be looking at the other associated structures to see if there is any cancer or pre-malignant related conditions. These are some of the things that you'll be looking at. And if you look for this screening, for the past many years, we've been following the same tools, same mouth mirror probe, straight probe, and all that. But there is a huge scope for innovation there. I'll not go into the details of each, but let me just take a very small example. A cavity, when the patient comes, he comes to the doctor very, very late. So early cavity detection, there is a scope for innovation there. Invisible caries, how do we detect that? And gum diseases. To detect gum diseases, we need to use a probe, and a lot of invasive methods are required. How can we non-invasively diagnose it? And a pre-malignant lesion like leukoplakia or erythroplakia or something like that. Many times we miss it, or we don't know whether it is actually a pre-malignant lesion. How about bringing in technology there? So that is at the screening level. If you the same way, if you go to the treatment level, for example, if you're going to do a filling, how it can be done better. If you're going to do an extraction, how can the bleeding after extraction can be cut down. If someone is experiencing more of bleeding during extraction, what is the solution to that? And you go to rehabilitation, the type of dentures we have, how can we experiment on the part of the materials there. So this is the scope for dentistry is huge. So and in a country like India, where we keep saying that dentistry is saturated, a lot of dentists in the metros, probably we are just talking about the cities. If you
Yes,
the place I
I
was
agree.
the place I was in rural Odisha, in Kalahandi district, I was in a block called Tamul Rampur. People can even check it out if they are around there. So this place didn't have a dentist when I was there. For 1 lakh people there, I was the only dentist, and I should say I was helpless because I was without a setup. I was actually doing public health, but I was proud to say that I am the only dentist here. The community health center there did not have a dentist, and probably a 1 lakh people there, I was the only dentist. So people should explore India more to know the
Yes.
scope for dentistry, and especially the scope for innovations in dentistry.
I think thank you so much for that extensive explanation for this question. And I think you have brought up this most practical points and the most, not thought about processes. And I agree with you that when it comes to these two words, research and development and innovation, it's something basic idea is only that is something like you have to create some like a monument or like a Qutub Minar, but I think innovation, if we go back and see any discoveries, just starts, either it is accidental or it really is a very small idea which actually takes up to the next level. And as you said that about your experience in that village, yes, I understand it totally. Like, my father was the first dentist, because I also belong from a district place in West Bengal, Murshidabad. So at that his time I'm talking about 1964 and all, he was almost the first dentist who was appointed in a government hospital. So I understand that from where you are talking and from where these things we really need to know. And dentistry is not at all saturated. I personally don't agree to it at all. Well, so um, as you rightly said, Dr. Stewart, that ideas and creative people like you will always have several ideas that will be popping up every now and then. So basically everyone has an idea. Now the question is that what are the steps to really make an idea, to make it a reality, especially in the field of dentistry, because it's a very very technique sensitive and complex field. So what would you like to add in this regard?
Yes, ma'am. There's a saying that goes this way. It says that great minds think alike. And
Mm-hmm.
so when people think some ideas and they think this is the most innovative and most unique idea that they have, and they just have to go and drop their idea in Google or some of these search engines, and there will be thousands of listings where people have already tried that and probably they have failed, or already there's a product out there. So the point is not about how great your idea is, but how greatly it is executed. So
Right.
that is where there's a difference between innovation and creativity. So people can be very creative, they can think about a lot of ideas, but the innovation comes into the picture when, with the limited resources you have, how you execute this idea and take it to its logical conclusion. So that is the whole point about innovation. And if you talk about the steps, so
Hmm.
as I was telling, anyone, any idea, it needs to go through certain stages. And I was
Right.
already talking about this, and probably people who have done courses on design thinking and who have read more about it will know that to complete any idea, it has to go through a cycle. And
Hmm.
this starts, as I was telling in the previous question, it starts with empathy. So you have to start your idea with empathy, and you have identify the problem, and then you have to define the problem. You have to define it very clearly. Can you tell in one sentence what the
Hmm.
problem is and what your solution is? It should not be
Right.
like beating around the bush, and it should not be like too much around that. So if we can put it very cclearly, this is the problem I am addressing, and this is the stakeholder involved. A dentist is involved, a patient is involved, a community healthcare worker is involved, and
Hmm.
everyone has to play a role
Hmm.
in making this idea successful. So
Dr. Stewart, are you with us? Okay, I think there's some network issues, and we'll get back. Yeah, I think
involved in
I
this
think
process and
I
understand the stakeholders,
yes.
and then once we have the idea, we have to go back to the stakeholders and
Okay, I think we lost Dr. Stewart in this connection, but I think this conversation, always in live shows, this is a big problem. But not to worry, I think we'll get back to him very quickly, and I'll just try to, reconnect him again. So basically, it's a very interesting thing that when it comes to research and innovation, and as Dr. Stewart was telling, that it is a process. It's not just random thinking, and you just come up, and one day, next day, you think that your product or service is ready, and the third day you are booming everywhere in the market. It doesn't work like that. So just to summarize, what two questions that Dr. Stewart already answered before he joins back again, because we are facing some network issue. So basically, when it comes to innovations, particularly we are talking about dental startups or in dentistry, you really need to think of certain problems which are existing, and if you just sit and try to list out those, I'm sure there will be a lot. Okay, Dr. Stewart is again once again with us. I was just summarizing what you told because we lost you due to the network, not an issue. So once again, welcome back. And okay, Dr. Stewart, so uh, so as you were talking about new things or technology, particularly this era is where we are seeing the exponential growth in terms of technology. So particularly I would focus on the buzzword now is artificial intelligence, because even I personally get attracted to this buzzword, and start hitting and see that where and what people are doing and anything relevant to dentistry. Well, so I will ask you that how these things like these artificial intelligence or any other latest trends, are these relevant to dentistry? If so, how are they relevant?
Yes, ma'am. I definitely talk about that, but I would also like to complete my previous answer about
Yes,
how an idea gets converted into
yes.
logical end. So basically, once an idea is there, the first thing I'll just put very briefly. The thing that they have to do is they have to talk to the people to whom this idea will benefit. They'll have to talk. For
Mm,
example, if patient is going to benefit from this solution, or if the
mm,
doctor is going to benefit from this solution, they should be in the loop. It should not be like in isolation. I develop an idea in the lab and then I try to bring it to conclusion. It will
right.
never be fruitful. So I have to be involved with those stakeholders who are there on the ground. And secondly, we'll have to be ready to take hard criticism. When you come up with a disruptive idea, people are going to definitely say that this is not going to work. This
Mm,
is something which will fail and all that. We should be ready to take hard criticism. At the same time, we should
yes.
be willing to accept realistic feedback. People give realistic feedback. Those who have very long years of experience in the field, they may say something, but we should be humble enough to adjust and adopt those things, because we don't know many things. Just because you're an
True.
innovator, you don't know many things. And then finally, you'll also have to do both primary and secondary research. Primary research is where you talk to the stakeholders, and secondary research is where you look at all the literature, all the patent literature which are available. How much some of the ideas you cannot do it in India, or you cannot do it because people have already patented it. People have already got a lot of products into it. You will be getting into a
Mm,
very competitive market if you're going to do that idea, and probably it will not sell or it will not take off. You'll invest 2 3 years and it is not going to be fruitful. So these are some of the aspects that I would also want to talk about. And two other things is you require funding. So after a point of time,
yes.
you cannot go developing a product or a service without funding. You cannot do it. So how are you going to generate that amount of funding? Are you going to bootstrap your own development or your own startup, or are you going to depend on some the grants? How are you going to generate that grants? How will you pitch your idea? All these factors come into point. And second is you need to have a lot of patience. Nothing will happen overnight. I've spoken to some people who have great ideas. They want to execute it in 1 or 2 months. They want to see the profits and revenues in the next 1 or 2 months.
Yes.
That is impossible in the current scenario. So you have to have the patience. If it is going to be a product, it will take at least 3 4 years or 5 years even to bring it to the market. If it is going to be a service sort of thing, it may take 1 or 2 years to bring it to the market. And so these are the factors you have to consider. And definitely, anyone who has an idea, innovator need not have some special ingredients like he should be this person. He should have got so much mark.
Correct.
He should have completed MDS or this amount of super specialties. Nothing like that is required. Anyone can execute an idea with the right things and right way of thinking. And of course, mentors is also important. If you don't have the
Yes.
proper people to guide you, then probably you'll end up in the wrong place. So to answer the latest question about the current
Yeah.
trends, so I'm not an expert. No one is an expert on this topic, because every day technology is emerging. Every day new things are coming. People say meta, people say different things, and it's very difficult to keep up with what is happening in this sector, especially being
Yes.
from the clinical background. If you are from a clinical background, if you're a dentist, to first understand what this term means, to understand how this works, it takes a lot of time. But to talk about some of the latest trends, you spoke about artificial intelligence, and
Yeah.
I know a few startups which are leveraging this technology to improve oral care.
Mm,
So some of the startups are using the AI, and they are collecting a lot of data, and then based on that only the AI is able to give you a preliminary diagnosis. What the dentist does in a dental camp, whether you have a dental cavity or you have a gum problem, gingivitis, and all this. Now AI is able to tell. So I know corporate hospitals have signed up for this program, and they just send this on WhatsApp to the patient, and then they can click
Patients.
and take photo, and then it will give you a preliminary diagnosis. You need to ASAP visit a dentist because you have so and so problem, your scoring is this and all that. So artificial intelligence is nothing but collecting a lot of data, processing it, and then understanding and taking out meaningful inferences from that. So I'm just
Mhm.
putting it very simple. People have done a lot of courses in that, will know better. But to my knowledge, what it is basically you gather a lot of data, you analyze it, and then you make meaningful inferences of it, and this how it can be create an impact. It's creating an impact in dental field in that way. For example, to do diagnosis, and then for some of these smile makeovers, some of this digital dentistry AI is helping,
Yeah.
where it can say how your end result will look like, how the end result of the aesthetic dentistry will look like. So these are some of the areas where AI is coming into picture. And there are other technologies, though again there are experts in this field, but there are other technologies like AR and VR, where AR stands for augmented reality, VR stands
Yeah.
for virtual reality, where now the patient sitting at his home is able to visualize what would happen because of this treatment. So okay, you're saying that I'm going to pay this much for these implants and these zirconia crowns and all this. So sitting at my home, I can visualize what the end result would be and how I want my tooth to look like, how I want to. All this can be done through the latest technology like AR and VR, and of course, teledentistry during the COVID it picked up. People were
Yeah.
more keen into interacting online, getting diagnosis online. So these are some of the latest technologies. And if you look at 3D printing, another one
Yeah.
which one cannot miss everywhere, not just in people just know about maxillofacial surgery where 3D printing is used. Everywhere there is a scope for 3D printing.
Mm.
They are printing complete dentures. So amazing to see the end result of how the dentures come out just with 3D printing. And there are
Right.
so many things in orthodontics it can be used. So nowadays, many city dentists have 3D printers in their own clinics. I spoke to a few people. They have very expensive, very latest 3D printers in their own clinics. So technology is catching up like anything. If you don't catch up in this race, you will fall behind. That is what I would like to say. And another specialty probably you will know better is regenerative dentistry, where they are trying to regenerate some of the tissues, and in endodontics, especially regenerative endodontics. And though some of these are in research stage, and some of this is an advanced research stage, I'm sure it will be translated soon, and we'll soon be seeing some of these things out there. So I think there is a lot of scope, CAD CAM and all this we have studied about, but now it is coming right in front of us in
Yes.
our own clinic in the chair side. I think there is a lot of catching up to do for young dentists, but I'm sure it will be very useful for them if they catch up with the latest trends in dentistry, especially related to technology.
Right. Right. So, well, even you put that point up, and also I have seen that particularly budding dentists, like who are passing out or who are going to pass out, say we call them as budding dentists or freshers. Most of the time I have seen that they talk about lack of opportunities. They are frustrated because of lack of opportunities, particularly we're talking about dentistry. So how can this field of medtech or medtech innovation rather and entrepreneurship, do you think it can change the game for them? Or like how it can change the game for them?
Yes, ma'am. So even I was in a similar state a few years back, and many dentists across and around us, they are in a
Hmm.
very much confused state, and they are at crossroads. They
Hmm.
have been told there is no information. It's not that there is no opportunity. It's not that they have found out. It's not that they have found out that there are no opportunities. They've been told that there are no opportunities in dentistry. They've been told of scope in pursuing dentistry and all that. and all that. But really, that is not the case, because there is so much that we can do. Talking through change the game. So, ma'am, am
Hmm.
I audible?
Yes, we lost you in between, but yes, now you're audible. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So this medtech innovations and entrepreneurship can really change the game, and that I realized recently as I was developing a product as part of our startup. So medtech innovations
Hmm.
is nothing but whatever devices and tools that we use in our
Hmm.
dental practice. If you look around, if you're in a clinic and if you look around yourselves and you can see the number of products that are made in India, you'll probably find one or two in your clinic which is made in India. Not
Correct.
necessarily everything needs to be made in India. For some of the things we don't have the technology, but for some things we have a lot of technology. We have a lot of people studying that. A lot of research and dissertations and theses are being done in the college campuses. Just that they are not being translated further on.
Hmm.
So there is a
Actually.
lot of scope in those areas. There is a lot of scope in those areas. I know Sri Chitra. Probably many people know that Sri Chitra is a very big institute in Kerala. They have come up with their own composite, and they license that patent also. I think the composite material which we use for dental filling, they had come up with their own material through in their own lab. We always believe that some foreign company has to come and give those material to us, but they have developed this material. So dental materials is another place, but in medical devices like the handpiece we use, the
Hmm.
burr we
Hmm.
use, I know of a company who are doing very well just by making this burrs and just by making this products in a nice and refined way. Indian company. So there is so much scope for there if one ventures into it. What I just wanted to say, instead of saying that there is no scope or there is the field
Hmm.
is saturated and all that, young dentists, especially those immediately after passing out, they should not follow the standard pattern. So that is something that we have been tuned into. We have
Yes.
been tuned into following the standard pattern. Okay, now you've finished MDS, BDS. Are you going to finish MDS? Are you going to put your clinical practice? There is so much of peer pressure. Okay, my friend is
Friend is
doing this,
doing.
so I will my friend is doing. I'll one up him by doing another thing, or I'll do better than him. So the
Right.
race has been between us. So the race is, we are not thinking about the bigger picture. And if we
Correct.
if we start thinking about the bigger picture, I think there is so much scope, especially people I know. Even some of my own friends, some of my people around, I've seen they are very good in doing. When they put their mind and soul and heart into it, they're very good in
Hmm.
doing, but they just fall back and they, okay, I'll do the standard thing. I'll just do
Hmm.
what is routine. The risk taking ability should come from dentist, and these
Yes.
days it's happening. I'm very happy. I'm happy to see people in dentists are now in across the different domains, but only a
Correct.
handful of them are there. My thing is, if we put and if you pass on this information and through programs like this that you're doing, I think there is a lot of scope for innovation and entrepreneurship, and it can people can become their they can start running the show instead of depending on others, instead of
Yes.
working for meager salaries. I know for everyone the passion may be different. For everyone, the things that they want to do may be different. Someone will be a leader, someone will be a follower. So it is up to
Hmm.
them what they want to do. But my only thing is, without trying or without thinking about it,
Hmm.
we try to just because people say there is no opportunities, we fall back into that. That is the
Correct.
bad part I'm talking about. Probably people should look around them, see where they can innovate, even if it is incremental. As I was telling, there is a
Yes.
huge scope for incremental innovation in dentistry, and
Hmm.
there is definitely a scope for disruptive innovation. So how we can
Right.
bring that about is the question, man. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think a lot of energy and a lot. At least I'm getting, and I'm sure all my audience and your audience, whoever will be listening, will feel the same. Well, one aspect when it comes to innovation and discoveries uh, is about the intellectual property rights, right? Well, I think Dr. Stewart, are you there with us? I think we lost him once again. I think there's a lot of connection issues from his side. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting conversation. If you are listening live, then well, if you are listening even in the recorded version, if you have any questions that comes up in your mind, please feel free to post it in the comment, because then we will get back with the answers as well. So I think it's a very interesting conversation, but due to the network issues, we are losing hang of Dr. Stewart in between. But that's okay. What we are trying to, see the scope with dentistry, it's unlimited, as he was telling, and it's very true that there's an unlimited scope out there. You just have to know what exactly the pathway is. You should knock the right door, like that I can say that you should know where to go and knock, because you should not be, just sitting around the bush. So take up courses or learn from experts, talk to people like Dr. Stewart and many other who are following this passionately, the journey of entrepreneurship. And I think that makes a lot of difference to yourself and the society also. Well, we are back on once again with Dr. Stewart. So yes, I was just mentioning, Dr. Stewart, that when it comes to these innovations and discovery, one thing that comes up is the IPR, or the intellectual property right. So let's talk about IPR right now. So can you tell me that how can a dentist make the most in the field of things like patents, trademarks, and copyrights? And to add an extension to this question, how will it add really value to their careers?
Yes, ma'am. So that's an interesting question. And as I was telling, great minds think alike, and ideas can be easily replicated. And then when someone has an idea, of course, you don't want to keep it within yourself. You want to go and talk to many people. You want to validate it. You want to take their suggestions and see whether this idea will work and all that.
Hmm.
But one risk in doing that is probably someone can take away your idea and then they can implement it, though they say that great ideas can't be taken
Copied.
away, or that they can't be copied, but that's still a real risk or real threat. So
Hmm.
we have to be careful about how much we reveal. How much of it are we talking about it with others? The whole essence should not be out unless we have filed a preliminary patent for it. If you think, and some people want to keep it open, they want to do an open patent sort of thing, they want to give away the idea for the world or something like that. But if you think that your idea is valuable, it will be more valuable if it is patented. Then definitely the whole essence should not be out unless you have filed a preliminary patent. And let me talk quickly about this, because people, as we know, that they publish a lot of paper, they do a lot of
Hmm.
literature reviews. Once they get an idea, the next thing they think about is how can I put a paper about it, how can I index
Yes.
it in a journal or something like that. But there should be some caution there, because once something is published in the literature, even if it is your own idea, it cannot be patented. I have a great idea, so before filing a patent, if I put it up in the literature, if I just publish a paper thinking that okay, I'll file a patent later, I cannot do it later, because it's
Hmm.
already there in the literature and it is already there in the public domain. I myself will become a barrier to my patent. So the
Right.
best thing, if you have an idea which is patentable, some things cannot be patentable in India.
Hmm.
For example, we cannot patent software in India. We cannot patent some of the other things in India, but we can products, methods, and all that. It is patented, it is patented, it is
Dr. Stewart, we are in between. It's going off and on your audio. Um, can you repeat what you were telling before? That what cannot be patented, certain things cannot be patented in India.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
can you just
Apologies.
tell
My
us once
network
again?
is not great. My
Yes,
network is
there's
not great
some,
for some reason. I don't know. Yeah.
no
So,
problem. Yeah.
some things like softwares cannot be patented. Some things like
Hmm.
in the internet in US or some other places you can patent softwares, but in India, as of now, I think you cannot patent a software. So certain things like that cannot be patented. but some of the things like a product idea or a process or some things like that can be patented. So if it is patentable, you have to
Hmm.
take expert help in that. Initially, you can do your own search, going to open source databases like Google Patent and WIPO and all that.
Hmm.
You can do your own search and see whether this idea is patentable. Some things may have like lakhs of patents, so you cannot do that. So you have to see whether there is a scope for innovation there. So
Right.
they say something like, they say when you go to a patent expert, they have something called a UNO score, where they say uniqueness. How unique is your idea? How novel is your idea? How
Hmm.
non-obvious it is? How
Hmm.
non-obvious it is? So if you say that if you say your idea to a dentist, it should not be very obvious to him. If it is very obvious, then probably many people have patented it already or something like that.
Correct.
So you go to an expert, you do a patentability search, and you file a patent. If you go across on internet, you can see how to patent and all that. I'm not going into the details. Secondly is trademarks for a name. For example, SocioDent, or you have some name.
Hmm.
So how can we trademark it? Because now I'm building a brand around SocioDent. Tomorrow,
Yes.
someone should not form a same SocioDent, and they should not take all the credits. So
Correct.
how can you
Protect.
trademark your, yeah, protect your clinic's name or clinic's logo, or your venture's name, venture's logo, and how can all this be trademarked? It's very simple. People are
Hmm.
around that just have to go around and ask how to do it and pay probably a minimum fees for that. And then there are copyright, where if you have some literature or if you have some textbooks, whatever is copyrightable, you can copyright. And probably we will not come into the picture for trade secrets. Big companies have trade secrets
Correct.
also. That is also one form of IPR they have, which they will not reveal. They'll just say it's a trade secret. But to ask the second question of yours was very relevant. How this will enhance their career? How this will
Correct.
enhance their career? That is the big question. So the big question is, we may have tens of hundreds of literature, and they may
Hmm.
be used by someone else also, but patents have their own value. We never know the value of patent unless there is a huge, for example, artificial intelligence. Currently there is a
Hmm.
huge boom. Probably some
Hmm.
people in abroad or somewhere, they might have filed a patent for some software based on this artificial intelligence in US maybe 10-20 years back, thinking
Yeah.
about that. And now it is a boom, and now everyone will go to that patent. I'm just giving a very rough example. The same way, some of the things that we think may not be valuable may become valuable
Hmm.
in the future. So
Correct.
some big companies may approach you if you have a patent for some sort of toothbrush or some sort of medical device, and then
Hmm.
there is a huge need for it. During, for example, the COVID times, the pandemic times, there were huge need for some of the equipments like ventilator. But again,
Yeah.
there is a clause in patent which says that uh, if your if your product is life saving, if your product like a ventilator, then the patent, the protection that patent gives may sometimes come down. That is for the social good and all that. But otherwise, many times we never know when our patent may become valuable. So that is how it will enhance their careers. And uh, once you file a patent and you go through the process, I know people who have many patents. Again, patents sometimes can become like literature, just like you copy from there and you paste it. Then it adds no value. Then it will
Correct.
just be a line on your paper or your CV. But if it is real original work, and if it is something which you have thought about from scratch, and it is your own contribution, then someday you will see the value for it. As I'm part of the IITM ecosystem, I attend some courses and all that. That they see how some of the student projects, they go for some very high cost. Some big company, they see, okay, this boy has the patent, so they come and get that patent on an exclusive license or a non-exclusive license they take, and it
Yes.
goes for a huge value in an unexpected way. So that can be the end result. And of course, you'll be protecting anyone from doing it also. Like, so no one can replicate the idea. If you are the first to file the patent, if anyone comes and files the same one, you can write to the patent office and say that I have already filed a patent for this. So you can stop them from actually working on that idea and all that. So there is so much scope. People are interested
Hmm.
should
Hmm.
definitely look into IPR and see how much it can enhance their value. If you are a company, of course, it will increase your company's value and all that. But if you are an individual also, it will add a lot of value on your CVs also.
Value. Thank you. I mean, that's a very insightful answer that you gave, and we are learning a lot from this conversation. Well, we heard about SocioDent, and now it is intriguing my interest more. So, can you tell me more about SocioDent and what exactly or what type of work are you doing as a startup with SocioDent? Uh, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, I'm happy to be taking this question because before a few years in 2019-20, this the name SocioDent was just a concept note. We had just had a concept note when I was telling I was in rural Odisha. So I had written a concept note. I didn't know what to title it. So we wanted to create social impact in dentistry. So putting that
Okay.
together, social impact in dentistry, I named it as SocioDent, and then. Started writing a concept note of how we can do some innovations in dentistry. Especially, I was in rural India at that time, so I was thinking
Hmm.
about the rural population. But I always
Hmm.
wanted to do something different that will create an impact with for people who are disadvantaged and who have some difficulties. So
Right.
the current form that SocioDent is, we are majorly working on oral hygiene product, a patent pending oral hygiene product, which can be used by those who cannot brush by themselves. So again, this is as we were talking about technologies and some of the latest areas where we can focus on. Assistive technologies is another focus area. Uh, Assistive technologies are technologies which are used by people for different things. So,
Right.
for example, the spectacles you are wearing is
Hmm.
even a small example of an assistive technology. The lens that we use, everything is an assistive technology. And so, the biggest example of assistive technology to say is SMS. So, it was the SMS was found for people who are hard of hearing to communicate with each other. So how they will communicate with each other, SMS was formed, and today how SMS has transformed itself into
SMSs,
a everything, WhatsApp and everything. It's SMS is there.
everything.
So
Yes, yes.
assistive technology is everywhere, and we are also working on assistive technology in the domain of dentistry. We are working on a mouthpiece based
Fantastic.
oral hygiene device for those who
Hmm.
don't cannot use their hands and brush. We take it bedridden elderly, people who have gone through stroke, people who are disabled, so quadriplegics, muscular dystrophic. For these individuals, we are developing a device. We are fairly in the advanced stage of our prototype, and we have the patent is also in its advanced stage. So we are now going for clinical trials the coming months or so. That is what we are doing primarily at SocioDent. We are building this product. We have product-based medtech company, and I have a small team of 3-4 people, engineers, basically designers, product consultant. I give the insights. I cannot build the product or I cannot design
Right.
it, but they will do the designing and they'll do the building of the product and all that. So this is our primary work. But apart from that, we are also focusing on how we can educate dentists through webinars, and how we can basically create an impact in the field of dentistry, and how it
Hmm.
can be made useful for people who are outside the purview of dentistry. If you see currently, dentistry is being accessed only by a certain segments of the population,
Correct.
especially
Correct.
private clinics. So
Hmm.
so there are so many barriers for that. Let me just give you a very quick example. I was talking to people with disabilities for the product that we are developing.
Hmm.
I spoke to many people with disability and all that. One of the problems that they told to me is, "Sir, we cannot visit any clinic in Chennai, or not in Chennai, in some city, because none of them are accessible. I am in a wheelchair. My wheelchair cannot go to the first floor, and I have this problem. So there is
Right.
a mandate which says that all public places have to be accessible. But
Hmm.
how many, if you say how many Chennai or how many dental clinics across India are accessible? For people with on wheelchairs, or for people visual impairment, so many things. I know a dentist, Dr. Lakshmi, who was developing a dental chair where a wheelchair can directly fit into that dental chair. So that is an innovation. She patented it. It is an advanced stage, and she has even put up one unit of it in the National Institute for Multiple Disabilities here in Chennai.
Oh, oh,
So
nice.
many
Hmm.
people are doing so many innovations. So there is so much scope, and so SocioDent is also working on a very small area. we intend to create an impact there. You can obviously and always visit our website to know more and reach out to me also to know more.
Thank you so much. And I think the very thought from which your innovation, the way you thought, I think it's a very, very important, and it has lot of kindness attached to it. And I'm sure that um, the way you are taking SocioDent or whatever the vision behind it, developing your product, it will be really, really helpful to the real needy people, so it's very, very interesting to know about what you are exactly doing. Okay, so that's like a very common question, but a bit offbeat what we were talking about right now. Well, I was just interested to know that there must be some source of inspiration that you took up entrepreneurship. So, what led you on these non-conventional path? And after BDS, generally, people go for MDS, that is masters, or maybe typically putting up a clinic or clinical practice. So I just want to know that what was your journey? I think it's very, very inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot, ma'am. Actually, my journey has also been one of exploring and one of searching and then finding out the right avenues to maximize that wherever I am. So as I was telling, I think I gave a brief insight early on, only
Mm.
during my introduction. So after my BDS in 2014, I immediately got into a corporate clinic and I thought, okay, I'm going to now do all the clinical practice. Then I'll go to MDS and then I'll be a
Mm.
professor, and so many things that I thought in my mind, the conventional things which have been actually told to us that these are the avenues that you have. And but after 2 years of being in a corporate clinic, I was really like, I should be doing something different. This is not where I am supposed to be. So I started
Mm.
exploring avenues. I started exploring and I started seeing for opportunities. I don't know how many, I wrote to all the international universities. I wrote to a lot of people and I applied in different places. But one program that I got into now also it's running. It's called, as I already told, it's called SBI Youth for India. It's run by State Bank Foundation, SBI Foundation, where they select youth from across the country. Now it's very, very competitive. Thousands of people apply. Anyone from any
Mm.
background can apply, and they'll basically post you in rural India with they'll provide some living expenses as a stipend, and you have to be there for 1 year. So it will really open up your
Mm.
mind because you are put up in a place with very, very limited resources. And as I was already told, I was in this place called Tamil Rampur in Kalahandi, which when I was there, it was in 2016-17. There was no network there. If I had to make a call, I had to go some 4-5 kilometers. I'm not exaggerating. This was the real situation for me. Using internet, I had to go to some 12-13 kilometers. Now slowly some internet, only this year or last year, some calling services have come in that area, and people from there, the students, I know that I was working in a school, so the staff, they
Okay.
know, they called me and told that there is a network here. So I was in a place 1 year. I was working on a project called Health Promoting School, where I worked with 3 schools where children from tribal and marginalized community used to come. So we were, they did not know much. Children there, 8th standard, some standard, they used to take tobacco. They had scabies. They had different problems. So how to educate them? Basic hygiene
Mm.
was what we were teaching them. I was not
Mm.
teaching them anything very big, or I was just asking them, can you brush once or twice a day? I told them twice a day, which people in cities also they don't do. But I was insisting them twice a day brushing, and it was a residential school. So we formed a committee, health promoting school committee, where we got peer leaders involved. So every day they have to check and they have to write how many people have brushed twice a day, how many people have washed their hands.
Wow.
So we did a lot of these things. And after a year, though it was not such a great impact, we saw many people, many students, especially that residential school, they used to, we can watch them because it was a residential school, morning and night they used to brush, and they used to
Mm.
do all these things in such a remote place. And that I felt was a very great impact from my end. Though
Absolutely.
it was something
Yes.
small, it was very big, and I
No,
presented this.
it's not small. It's a big thing that you have achieved. Because you
Yeah,
did a behavior change. That is the most difficult thing in any aspect. If you see changing the behavior of a person, so you have done that. I think, yeah. Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, and I though this thing was not a major impact. I presented this poster in some international conference on adolescent health, and it was also well
Mm.
received. So after that, I really my thinking changed. I was no longer
Mm.
thinking within the four walls of a clinic, though that is something people are very passionate about. I thought that is not my cup of tea, so I wanted to do something different. And again, I got into another fellowship called Social Innovation Fellowship, or social SIP. It's called Social Innovation and Immersion Fellowship. It was themed on aging and health. So again, I went back to Odisha, this time in Bhubaneswar. So I was in the capital. I was associated with KIT University there, and I was
Ah.
working with the technology business incubator there, where I was an innovation fellow. I did not have an idea. I just I wanted to do something, and the theme was given aging and health. So we used to visit old age clinics, old age hospitals, and then ICUs and different places. And as a dentist, I was looking at all the dental problems that they were facing. Dry mouth was one of the problem, and people cannot brush by themselves. That was one of the problem. And we came up. I listed so many need statements, and out of that, I started pursuing one idea or one problem statement, telling that people cannot brush by themselves. So we wanted to develop a device for that, and that's how
Right.
slowly we got some grants for that from the government of India. We got a grant for around 48 lakhs for developing this product. So it's called the BIRAC BIG grant. So
Mm.
out of that, using that, I was able to sustain myself and my team and form my startup in 2021. And I had another dentist
Fantastic.
also on board. She's from Kerala. She developed a solution for dry mouth. So like that's how she also has her own startup. So that's how we came. It's not like on day one itself I had my idea, I have everything in place, I have every funding in place. So it's a journey of, I think, from 2016 onwards. I've been trying to do something different, and now we've come to a stage where we are clear. Okay, this is what we are going to do over the next some year, and we are going to really take this ahead. So that is the whole thing. So as the thing is, it was never a plan, like a planned set of events. It was something which we did on the go, step by step. I was able to do this, and somehow we are here, and we are hoping to take SocioDent ahead.
Fantastic. So, like now that you have formed a startup, the obvious question that comes that how easy or how difficult, you find it to manage a startup, and how exactly we get the required funds to sustain a startup, because starting is something and maintenance and sustenance is another thing. So, if you just tell us about that, you know, yeah.
Very true, ma'am. So in 2021, like I officially registered my startup SocioDent in March 2021. But then it is just a process of registration. Anyone can
Hmm.
form a
Anyone
startup,
can do.
incorporating
Hmm.
in incorporation and all this. If you get the right CA and CS, anyone can do it. But the actual challenge comes in operating it. Like the basic things, the manpower issues are there, and then you have problems where how to develop the product. There will be some challenge there. Funding is a great problem, how you are going to sustain yourself on a long term. So I would not really paint a rosy picture and say that everything is smooth, so everyone should become an entrepreneur or something like that.
Hmm.
It's very, very difficult. It takes a lot of effort, and especially you need to have the right amount, right type of team. So my co-founder
Hmm.
is Dr. Stephen. He's a very good friend of mine. So we support each other in that way. So we need to have a very good team which gels together, which thinks together, who know their objectives. So that is one thing which is very much required. And to sustain, obviously, you need to have a roadmap. So everywhere we pitch startup. So I've been pitching in my startup for so long, like 2-3 years now. So everywhere they'll ask you for a roadmap. You cannot be like, okay, today I'll start a company and then tomorrow let me see what happens. You cannot be like that, because you need to have a roadmap for at least 2-3 years. So post pandemic, they have asked, like, you need to have a real roadmap with real contingency plans. What happens if something like a pandemic strikes? How you will be able to
Hmm.
sustain yourself? All this is are the questions. I started my company right before the second wave in March 2021. So I did not know this is going to become something, such a huge problem is going to arise again. So I met
Right.
my teammates. I met my teammates after 6 months or 8 months, because they were in Pune, I was in Chennai. Everything had to be
Hmm.
managed on Zoom. So these are the challenges. But the good news is there is so much uh, funding available in the startup ecosystem. Maybe for
Mm.
dentistry it is slightly limited, and because obviously it's a small subset of our subsegment of our health. There is so much to of our health is there that we have to understand. But there is still scope. If your innovation is good, there is still scope for getting good funding. So some of the avenues, probably people who are watching this video, they can look at Nidhi funding, they can look at BIRAC's funding. So we were
Right.
fortunate to get funding from BIRAC, which is a body under Department of Biotechnology. Initially, they gave us a small 5 lakh grant telling that you develop this proof of concept. Then they gave us some 48 lakh grants
Mm.
telling that you develop, now you have a proof of concept, you develop this into a prototype. Now the prototype is ready from IIT Chennai and from IIT Kanpur. We have got a couple of 20 lakhs or so for our grants. So like
Fantastic.
that, we've been able to sustain ourselves through such grants. But obviously, we are also looking at ways we can make revenue. So how,
Correct.
because that is the sustainable way of running a company. Grants for 2 3 years, the grants would support you, but probably after that, how you're going to make a revenue, how you're
Mm.
going to sustain the startup, those questions are there. But the thing is, there is funding available in the market. If you have a good idea, you can approach the right people, and people, if you have a very good plan on paper that this is how I'm going to use the fund, people will be definitely be willing to you. And for early stage, even from idea stage, you just there are people are willing to fund. Especially government grants are there from DST, Department of Science and Technology, and DBT. People can check more of these avenues, and they should be also associated with some of these incubators. From the beginning, I was associated with the KIT in Bhubaneswar, the incubator there. Then I was associated with the TIS Mumbai, their incubator, and now with Chennai incubator. So that, because as an individual, you cannot keep searching all over the internet. You just need to have
Right.
a place where people will give you reliable information, and you can pursue that, and then you can get some grants. But I know
Mm.
for a fact that there are dental startups who are doing really well. Obviously, they have a great team and all that. There are some big companies that are doing well, but there are also startups with a small, less than 10 people, who are really pushing it hard, and they're trying to crack the funding part also. So it is possible. It is not impossible. That's what I would like to say.
Yeah. Just we are coming to the concluding part of our conversation. Like we have been almost talking almost an hour now. Since you are already an entrepreneur and you're a young entrepreneur, so what message do you want to give to the young dentists listening in here or who will be listening after this? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. The major thing that I would like to say, as I already was putting across in one of the questions, was they should be thinking out of the box.
Mm.
Like restricting their thinking to only few options, and again, not able to pursue it. Also, they think that I have everyone has some constraints. So financial constraints. Everyone has financial constraints. Though we say that. That there is a lot of scope in dentistry and the dental market. There is also some challenges there. There are people, colleges are the people are graduating every year in a
Mm.
Chennai city like Chennai. Opportunities are limited. All these realistic facts are out there. So it's not like we have to be keep a blind eye to all of this. But having all these facts in mind, hard facts in mind, what are we going to do about it? We cannot change the game by just raising our voice or by just keep cribbing about it. We cannot change the entire ecosystem. But how can you as an individual pursue your passion? That's what recently also 2 3 people got in touch with me. Just they were asking of opportunities in SocioDent and different things, and how to do this and how to the only thing that I told them was, don't do this because someone else is doing it. Just someone wants to pursue UPSC. Why do you want to pursue UPSC? Because my friend is also pursuing. Someone is pursuing
Right.
MDS. Because why are you pursuing this exam? Are you sure that no, my friend or the friend I know is doing it? So that should not. If that is the reason, I think that is not a reason enough for you. There is so
Correct.
much scope. Through these webinars that we are conducting at SocioDent also, I've been interacting with so many people, and none of this, like we interacted with a friend of mine who cracked UPSC after 6 years. It took him 6 years, and you cannot expect it to do in 1 or 2 years. Same way, MBA or any other area which you're looking, it is going to take time. So if you
Right.
want to, you cannot turn everything upside down in 1 or 2 years. That is the first message. Second message is, you should follow your passion and purpose, even if everyone else thinks that it is not something that they like to do, but if you like it, you have to pursue it. And thirdly, what I would like to see is they also have to think collaboratively. Some of these things cannot be done as an individual. So individually in your own shell, if you're going to keep thinking, definitely it will not come. Some of these things, innovation or any startup, you need to have a technology people also around you if you want to pursue in this. So collaborative thinking is also very important, and I can go on and on. But only thing I would like to say to them is there are opportunities, but you have to push hard at those doors. It's not easily coming at you.
Yeah. So I think and hard work always pays off. This is something which uh, passionate entrepreneurs, and when we think alike, this is something which is applicable to everybody. Well, so now just to the last question that I know that, and thank you once again for that as well, that you are part of our upcoming conference, International Online Conference on Dental Genetics and Clinical Diagnostics 22, which I'm starting this year. So this is a chapter one. So how excited are you about this conference, and what can the participants, expect during your session?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm really grateful and thank you for inviting me to the session. Once I saw the invite and I was also looking at, you had given us a very advanced notice, so that is also great because we could prepare ourselves and learn more, and then we could share our learnings also in the conference. So what I'd be sharing more in the conference in my session would be more on the things that we spoke now, but more in a structured way. Now I've touched upon design thinking, I've been touching upon innovation and different things here and there, but more in a structured way. We'll be looking at how this can really be done and how anyone who's interested should follow the steps and guidelines. I'll be talking into each of that, and I'll also try to take one or two case studies, and we'll try to see how this can be applicable for us. So I think I'm excited. I also saw the conference brochure and the speaker list and all that. Few names were familiar. I'm really excited for the session, and I'm really excited to learn more. Especially the platform, online platform, is also something where we can come together and learn without much of a hassle. So I think I would urge everyone who's watching to join for the conference and also learn from the expertise of all the speakers who are joining in from different backgrounds and different fields. So probably you'll be learning a lot. So don't miss that, and you should probably block your dates and join the conference. That is what I have to say.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Though it was an extensive conversation, but I loved every bit of it. And thank you so much for your long time in this conversation. And I wish you all the best with SocioDent. And I'm sure that we will see the product that you are developing very soon. That is going to disrupt the market, because and also particularly, which I liked, is your thought behind this innovation, which is really really needed, and you have rightly perfectly found out the uh, very important but simple but novel problem that people are still, it is existing in our society, in spite of we talk so much of research, innovation and technology. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for being a part of this program. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. It was a pleasure to be on this YouTube live and learn from you also. Thank you.
Thank you.